ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and on behalf of Bet David, Santon, Bet Menorah, Pretoria, and Bet David, Durban, a special welcome to all who have joined us tonight. Should anyone wish to sponsor a Shabbat service to celebrate the Simcha, or simply to support the congregation, please contact the synagogue office. The service this evening has been sponsored by Ron Klippen in memory of his late brother, Colin. Shabbat candles tonight will be lit by Louise Sinclair from our sister congregation in Durban.
In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Sabbath by kindling these lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
We Jews have been besieged by time. For the last few weeks, we've had to be clock watchers. Every activity has had a time spell attached. Rosh Hashanah lasted 2 days, soon to be followed by Shabbat, with its own starting and finishing boundaries. Then we made ready for Kol Nidre, with its exact time of sunset, and next day it's time for ending the fast, thankfully. Shabbat Shuvah was followed by Sukkot, which is heralded by the full moon, exactly mid-month, Tishrei. Sukkot lasts 7 days, then we welcome Simchat Torah and Shemini Atzeret, all these at bewildering speed. I've thought hard about the phenomenon of time, and I wish to rebound with a defense against its demands. The first reason which springs to mind is how busy our traditions have kept us, from event to event. Maybe we are lucky to have so many serious and also festive events. But on reflection, I think that a better reason is that the Almighty is drawing our attention to His world, with its geography, its events of nature, its animal life, and, most complex of all, its varied human life and activities, and brain power, which gives us the capability of analyzing everything around us, as I'm now doing. Each person is unique and has the chance to do and develop as he wishes, in accordance with God's greater laws surrounding us. May we also come and make good choices in spending our thinking time. I'm writing this on a warm, quiet, mellow evening, ideal for sitting back and contemplating such thoughts, and trying to engage with harmonious feelings the onslaught of our time, our nemesis. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, David, and thank you especially, Louise, tonight, because you are bringing us light on the Shabbat where we celebrate the creation of light. And it is actually a very auspicious moment to be lighting candles. I hope that throughout the congregation, everybody has small flames burning. We are taught that the light that was created on this, at this time, actually it was back in Rosh Hashanah, so a month ago, functionally almost, is actually not available to us except by looking at the face of people who we love and who we know to be deeply engaged in the life of beautifying and magnifying the world. That's why they couldn't look at Moses' face, because he was so close to the divine. And so we get hints of it in each other's eyes. And I want to invite you, as we move into our first psalm, which is on page 130, to think of somebody or to find somebody nearby you who is engaged in doing holy work, and take a moment and look at them in the eyes and see if you can find that little spark of the divine that rests there for all of us to enjoy. Page 130. Nekadma fanav letoda bezmirot narialo ki el gadol Adonai umelech gadol al kol Elohim asher beyado mechivei haaretz v'tohavot harim lo asher lo hayam v'hu asahu v'yaveshet v'yichov v'yatzaru bo'u nishtachavu v'nichra'a nevarechecha lifnei Adonai oseinu ki hu Eloheinu v'anachnu am Mirito v'tzon yado hayom im bekolo tishma'u. Page 132, the end of our psalm. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the field and everything in them exult. And then shall all the trees of the forests shout for joy at the presence of Adonai, for God is coming. God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people in faithfulness. We turn to the new song on page 133. Shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, Shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, shir l'Adonai, shir chadash, shir l'Adonai, chadash. You know, we are told that we can always sing a new song to God. And we use the words perhaps that we've used before, and we use even perhaps a melody that we've used before, maybe for that song or maybe for a different song that suddenly we discover matches the words. And however we do that, this is really our opportunity to make things new. And we just learned at Rosh Hashanah how important it is to be able to renew ourselves, to sing that new song, to come with a heart that is fresh, that is pure, that has made it through the mikveh of the holidays, and to look out on this beautiful world and on the spring and at the rain, and to bring our spirits with newness and with joy into the presence of the divine. So we turn now to page 135 for Psalm 99. Adonai malach yirgu amim, Yoshev kruvim tanut haaretz, Adonai b'tzion gadol v'ramhu al kol ma'asim, Yodu shimcha gadol v'nora kadosh, mighty ruler who loves justice, it was you who established equity, you who worked righteous judgments in Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down to God's footstool. God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Sorry, my little dog is at my feet and she keeps moving the table upon which the computer is resting. Always an opportunity to have change in the world, right? We turn to page 136. And we've been going sequentially in order, right? Psalm 95, Psalm 96, up through Psalm 99. And here we have this moment of expectation that something is going to change. We move back in the Psalter and we rejoice. We thank the divine presence for all of the glory and the strength that come into the creation of this last day, the creation of people and of the shamir and of the ram that's going to get stuck in the bushes again in a few weeks, and of the Leviathan that swallowed Jonah and brought him safely so that we could learn about Tshuva. All these things are wrapped up in this song. Mizmor leDavid, havu l'Adonai bnei Elim, havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz, havu l'Adonai kevod shemo, yishtachavu l'Adonai bechadrat kodesh. The voice of God over the waters, the voice of God of power is revealed to us. God over the waters of multitudes. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vayishaber Adonai et al zehavanon. And they danced like lambs, Lebanon and Sirion, like small babes of sheep. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kodesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesof ya'arot. And in the sanctuary all say, Kavod. You can repeat that after me. We're all in that sanctuary. Let us all say, Kavod, holiness, glory, look at it's here for us. Adonai lemadu yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai hoz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. We turn to page 138 for Lechaduti.
Lechaduti likrat kala kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela. Lechaduti likrat kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela.
Shabbat ezahod ledibur echad, yishmi'anu el hamichad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
L'shemot tiferet ve'litfilah. Lechaduti likrat kala kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela. Lechaduti likrat kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela.
Likrat Shabbat lemugen elcha, ki mekor habracha, perush mikedem lestucha.
Sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lechaduti likrat kala kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela. Lechaduti likrat kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela.
Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech u'miori, uri, uri, shira beri.
Kevod Adonai elach nigla. Lechaduti likrat kala kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela. Lechaduti likrat kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela.
Boi leshalom aderet ba'alam, kam besimcha u'retzolah. Tov memonei am seulam.
Boi chala, boi chala. Lechaduti likrat kala kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela. Lechaduti likrat kala, peni Shabbat mekabela bela.
We turn now to the song sung by Shabbat. And I've always wondered, since I was a child, how did David know that this was what Shabbat sang? It seems, contrary to our notions of time and space and understanding. But we're told by the rabbis that there's no beginning and end when you're really in that place of spiritual connectedness, that you're enabled to travel and to see things that you can't see with your eyes, with these eyes, but only, as the fox says in The Little Prince, with the heart, that you can see correctly. And so here is David moving back to this day before the beginning of creation and embodying the experience of being created in the words of humankind. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון וכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך הרנן. מה גדול מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. וזמר לשמך עליון, וזמר לשמך עליון. May we also be like those righteous, those date palms, who thrive like cedars in Lebanon, who stand straight and create beauty and scent and fruit. Planted in the house of God, may we flourish always in the courts of God. May we produce fruit in our old age. May we be full of verve and freshness, attesting to the uprightness and the amazingness of the divine. We move to the Chatzi Kaddish, back to our time where we do not say the extra la'ela. So I invite you to rise as you feel comfortable doing, and join me on page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yirach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kariv v'imruhu. I can hear you all saying, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam le'amei amaya, yitbarach, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו, לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו, Amen. Page 146. Praised are you, Adonai, our God. creator and deviser of the universe, who by your word not only brought light, but made the evenings come on. With your wisdom, you opened the gates so that the moon and the stars can float in the sky. And you change the times and move the seasons along with all of your planetary markers so that we may follow them. You create day and night, and you roll back the day before the night and the night before the day, giving us this grounding in time. And you not only do that, but you distinguish for us between the day and the night, the light that comes to give us activity and motion, and the dark that brings us the quiet and the rest of sleep. For you are the Lord of all the hosts. El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai, Amahari V'Ravi. Page 150. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochveinu uvkumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, Le'olam, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, u'vahem negei yomam v'layla. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, u'vahem negei yomam v'layla. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negei yomam v'layla. Ve'avtecha al tasu mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לפניך, ודיברת בם. בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך. And you shall bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. So you shall remember, and you shall do all of the commandments, and you will be holy to the Lord your God. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני Elohechem. You know, this is the essence of what we teach our children when they're tiny. And I so remember singing it to Amalia every morning and every night, and then starting her on her own singing, and she got to Bam, right, which is about in the middle, and she stayed at Bam for the longest time, and she loved to say Bam, and that might have been it, but it made me think, you know, the second part is all of the times and the ways and the modes by which you take this teaching, which is that you should love God, and you evoke it in the world. And really, on some level, we could stop at Bam. You know, Bam you're going to speak of them. You're going to speak of them in all of these different ways. I'm seeing sometimes I am frozen. I apologize for freezing. It's actually quite warm here. I think it's quite warm there too. So who knows what the eternal frozenness of the internet is doing for us. But I wanted us to think about this notion of stopping at Bam, of just speaking of them. That it's not only that you should speak of them when you lie down and when you rise up, but that you should always be speaking of these things when you speak. And that maybe Amalia's silence was also about creating the space to listen to other people thinking of these things. And so that is my kavanah for us tonight as we move into Mi Chamocha, that we can not only recount the love that we have for God, but we listen in history to these magnificent words of glory, and we listen to each other as we all say, yes, this is my experience of the divine. Who is like the one who causes change and glory and freedom? Mi Chamocha, page 158.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 1 in the choir room.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך, והגן בידינו, והסר מעלינו אויב, דבר וחרב ורעב ויגון. והרחק ממנו עוון נפשה, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה, כי אל נותן ורחום אתה, ושמור צאתנו ובואנו, לחיים ולשלום, for life and for peace. מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים. Page 162, our Shabbat Commandment. We are told, celebrate Shabbat. This is what we do on Shabbat. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם, ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אות היא לעולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי nefesh. Those words come straight out of the Torah, telling us to keep Shabbat, make it a holy day. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. עם קדשי שביעי כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך, והושיענו רצית בו וקידשתו, חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זכר למעשה בראשית. We turn now to the Amidah, page 164.
Adonai, Sefatai tiftachu fi yagiteinatecha. Adonai, Sefatai tiftachu fi yagiteinatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, ve'Elohei Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עושה ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Page 168. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל, the dew will fall. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים. רופא חולים, that's the word that you often see. Healer of the sick. רופא חולים ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מימית ומחיה, King of death and of life. ומצמיח ישוע, נאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Page 171 at the top. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. What does that mean, we walk sightless among miracles? We're so busy with our own affairs that we don't see the good things that are happening around us. We don't appreciate what God has done for us in the week gone by. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Let's get rid of the darkness around us and look to see the brighter, lovelier things instead of criticizing what goes on in our society. Let's do a little bit to improve what goes on in our society. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. A general instruction to look around us and be aware of the fine things in our society. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. 172 at the top. Atah kidashta et yom hashvi'i lishmecha, tachlit ma'aseh shamayim va'aretz, uverachto mikol ha'amim, v'kidashto mikol hazmanim, v'chen katuv b'toratecha. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה. וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו. כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, וסי במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. שבענו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך.
וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. דה 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 אוי דה 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 וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת. וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו, וטהר ליבנו לעבדך באמת.
והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו, יעבור רצון שבת קודשך, וינוחו בא ישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת
Chayenu Magen Yishenu, Ata Hu L'Dor V'Ador. Tzu Chayenu means rock of our lives. We often find this reference to God. I spoke about it last week or the week before, where God is referred to as a rock, being symbolic of a fortress, of something standing in the path of our enemies and shielding us from our enemies. Tzu Chayenu. Nodelecha Nesaper Tehilatecha Al Chayenu Hamsurim Biyadecha Ve'al Nishmotenu Hapkudot Lach Ve'al Nisecha Shebechol Yom Imanu Ve'al Niflotecha Ve'tovotecha Shebechol Et Erev V'avoker V'tzohoraim. In every age, evening, morning, afternoon. In other words, 24 hours a day, God is there for us. Hatov kilo chalu rachamecha v'ham rachem kilo tamu chasadecha mayolam kivinu lach. V'al kulam yitbarach v'tramam shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam va'ed v'chol ha'chaim yoducha selah v'hallelu et shimcha be'emet ha'el yeshuatenu ve'ezratenu selah baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha l'chanoe lehodot. We pause for a few moments of silent devotion.
Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru. Shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru, amen. Shalom bimromav, uyase shalom, shalom.
This week we celebrated Simchat Torah, which is the festival of rejoicing over the Torah. We are so used to reading from it and quoting from it that it is good to stop once in a while and have a general overview of this magnificent document, which is the source of our knowledge, of our religion, and our way of life. We often take it for granted, so it might be timely to look at its makeup. It is well known that there are 613 mitzvot in the Torah, commandments, some positive and some negative. There are 613 knots in the talus to remind us of this. It is instructive to look at comments made on the Torah by some of our great predecessors. Micah formulated 3 mitzvot in summary: do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. That's how he summed up the essence of the Torah. Isaiah based all the mitzvot upon 2 lessons, only 2. Keep justice and righteousness. Whereas Amos reduced everything to one guiding principle which underpinned all the mitzvot: seek me and live. Habakkuk also came up with a single declaration: the righteous shall live by their faith. Ben Azai found a similar basic thought as follows: this is the story of humanity. When God created us, God made us in the divine image. An expression that we've often come across. You can detect a common thread in these one-line definitions. That is this: a proximity to God, an injunction to act in the divine manner, an affirmation that we are to follow in God's footsteps and live as He would want us to live. Our predecessors found no reason to give examples of what people should do. They merely stated the basic principles, as I've indicated. All the mitzvot in the Torah are variations of these basic instructions. We are human and we slip in our devotion. So we have to remind ourselves of our duties by attending shul regularly and getting a fresh dose of Judaism renewed. We are told different stories and are reminded of different events to keep up our understanding, to view an incident with a different slant to last week, to remind us of different needs and desires and duties. So is the Torah Ongoing. Hence our reading a different parsha each week. Indeed, there are 52 parashot read weekly over the year. The lessons and comments cover most human situations. Quite frankly, I've kept the best for last. Rabbi Akiva famously stated the best summary possible when a Roman governor asked him to explain the Torah, while he, the governor, stood on one foot. Certainly, answered Akiva, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is the law. The rest is commentary. So go and study it. Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to the Kaddish, page 122, and we welcome Weizmann Ariel and Ariel Somech.
ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי. ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויכול אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו. באהבה וברצון הנחילנו. זיכרון למעשה בראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקרה קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך באהבה ורצון הנחילתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen.
Thank you, gentlemen. We now proceed to the Aleinu, page 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. השמיים ויסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו, בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום ושבותה, לבבך. כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו עוד.
Page 588 at the foot. We therefore hope in you, eternal our God. May we soon behold the glory of your might, sweeping away the false gods of the earth, that idolatry be completely removed, perfecting the world under the rule of God, that all humanity invoke you, and turning all the wicked of the earth toward you. Page 593. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. Turn to page 597, and at this moment we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We think of Sam Britton, father of John Britton, Otto Meyer, grandfather of David Meyer. Dylan Jesse Schwartz, son of Hareen and the late Garth Schwartz and brother of Cody Lee. Leslie Ross, father of Michael Ross and grandfather of Warren and Stephen Ross. Joseph Keir, father of Sybil Pearlstein. But Murray, father of Teresa Sobel and grandfather of Deborah and Louise Isaacs. Joyce Brow, mother of Arnold Brow. Colin Clippen, brother of Ron Clippen. Julius Eliason, father of Michael Eliason. Robert Hall, father of Clive Hall. From Bet Menorah, we recall Thomas McCaskill, father of Don McCaskill. From Bet David Durban, Selwyn Abrahams, husband of Arlene and father of Stephen Abrahams. Michael Truscott. Leah Katz, mother of Elka Ausenbroek. Isidore Aaron. Solly Berkowitz, father of Ivan Berkowitz. Sylvia Greenberg, sister of Yvonne Colby. Those who passed away recently: Wendy Beblow, grandmother of Shai Tal. Cantor Richard Kaplan, remembered by Rabbi Elisheva Salamo. And we remember for dedication of leaves, which took place just before tonight's service, dedication of leaves on our tree of life outside. We recall the following: Bruce Jolson, remembered by Danny Carriette and Angelique Jolson. Arlene Jolson, remembered by Harold, Wayne and Mark Jolson. And we remember Jeff van Flyman, our honorary treasurer of this shul for many, many years. Remembered by Pat, Debbie and Ruth, Brian van Flyman and their families, and by all at Bet David. As I look at the congregation now, I recall Jeff's seat. He was an honorary life member. He's got a plaque over there, seat that he always sat in. I recall Bruce sitting next to that door. He was a tiger. He wanted that door open for fresh air in, no matter how cold it was. We'll always remember you for that, Bruce. Zichronam Livracha. We turn to page 598 for Kaddish, which will be recited by Teresa and Debbie.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbours have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nations whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'amad yivrach liotei v'yamich machotei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayed chol beit Yisrael, v'galav yizman kariv v'yoru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah merach le'olam amer maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitra'ah v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei kudisha brichu, le'elam mikol bechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, dam yiram v'yomah v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mimshmaya, v'chayim alenu v'akol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom mimamav, uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
Thank you. Some final announcements for the end of the service. Thank you to Deron and to Adam for facilitating the streaming of the service, and to congregations who participated via pre-recorded videos. Also thanks to Rabbi Salamo for her sermon and Ron Clippen for sponsoring the service. We are very grateful for all donations received over the High Holy Days. Further donations will continue to be acknowledged in the coming weeks in the Adkan Bulletin. If you've not yet made a donation and wish to do so now, this will be very welcome. In the light of the drop in COVID infections and the President's statement last evening, moving South Africa to lockdown alert level 1, the management committee of our shul, Bet David, plans to reopen the synagogue for in-person attendance from next week. A draft COVID safety protocol document has been compiled and the congregation will be informed during the week of the requirements for attendance at services. While there will now be congregants in the synagogue, we plan to continue streaming the weekly services via YouTube. There will be a need for a big screen in the synagogue to screen the recorded and streamed contributions. The management committee appeals to anyone willing to donate a large TV screen, please to contact the synagogue office. We conclude the service with the singing of Adon Olam on page 625.
Adon Olam Hashem alav b'terem kol etzim nivra ve'et nasa b'chetzo kol azay melech shemo nivra ve'acharei kiflot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu over ve'hu yeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'en sheni להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצור חבלי בצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנקוס לי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בתשעת והעירה ואם רוחי גבייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And over to Rabbi for a closing benediction.
Thank you so much, Reb David. Always lovely to share the bima with you and for your beautiful words. Today, I wish that we all have the experience of being bathed in the light, of knowing that there are divisions that we must respect and admire, of enjoying the wonders of the air and the sea and the land, of our fellowship with animals, and of the great, amazing possibility of Shabbat that we get to share together along with the divine. So may you all be blessed and kept in the warm bosom of the one who loves us beyond measure. May God's face be lifted to each one of you in great favor. And in that lifting and in our responsive shining, may we find wholeness. May we find peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Umvorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom.